If you really want to understand the world we live in, our economy, our whole society, you have to start with the most basic thing that shapes it all, the commodity. It seems pretty simple, right? But digging into it, really analyzing it, shows you the entire blueprint for our economic system.
Just look around you, right now. The screen you're on, maybe the coffee on your desk, the chair you're in, it's like we're swimming in this massive ocean of stuff, an incredible pile of things made for one reason and one reason only, to be sold.
So that leads to the big questions, doesn't it? What are these things fundamentally, and why is one thing worth a certain amount and another thing worth something totally different? They seem like easy questions, but trust me, the answers take us right to the heart of how our entire economy ticks.
Okay, so to kick this off, we've got to think a little bit like a biologist. If you want to understand a big, complex organism, you don't start with the whole thing. You start with its most basic unit, the cell. Well, for the capitalist economy, that tiny economic cell is the commodity.
So what is a commodity exactly? See, it's not just any old thing. If you bake a loaf of bread to eat for dinner, that's just a product. It's useful. But the second you bake that same loaf of bread to sell it at a market, boom, it's transformed. It's now a commodity. Its whole purpose is different. It's made for other people, for exchange.
And you really got to get this because it's the absolute foundation for our whole analysis. The commodity is the starting point. It's the simple little atom that all the wealth we see around us is built from. Everything else follows from this.
All right, now it starts to get really, really interesting because every single commodity out there is kind of two-faced. It leads this double life. It has a dual character, two sides that are totally different, but they're stuck together, inseparable, in the same object.
And this duality is everything. On one hand, you've got its use value. That's simple. It's how useful the thing is. It's about quality. A coat keeps you warm, a hammer pounds nails. But on the other hand, you have its exchange value. This has zero to do with how useful it is and everything to do with what it can get you on the market. It's all about quantity. How many of these for how many of those?
All right, let's tackle that first phase, the one that's a bit more obvious, use value. This is all about the physical, tangible reality of the thing itself.
Use value is all about the physical stuff, right? It's the actual properties of the commodity. A coat is made of wool or whatever, and that gives it warmth. A hammer is hard and heavy, so it can drive a nail. Coffee has caffeine, gives you a boost. It's the concrete material stuff that makes us want it in the first place. So at the end of the day, use value is just about what a commodity does. It's its function. Why do we even want it? Because of what we can do with it. Pretty straightforward, right? Well, hold on. Okay, now we're diving into the other side, the much, much weirder one, exchange value. This is where we leave the world of physical usefulness and we step into the social chaos of the market.
And here's the wild part. Exchange value isn't something a thing just has. As this quote says, it's a relationship. It's just a number, a proportion. It's the ratio that tells you how much of one useful thing you can trade for another useful thing. Just look at this table. It lays it all out, right? A single pair of shoes, this one useful thing, can somehow be equal to a whole bunch of other completely different useful things. 2 shirts, 10 loaves of bread, they're physical shapes. What you do with them, it's all totally different.
And that just throws a huge wrench in the whole thing, doesn't it? How is that even possible? What on earth allows us to say that a shoe equals bread? You can't compare their usefulness. Walking in shoes is not the same as eating bread. So there has to be something else, something they all share that's hidden from view.
So to figure this out, we have to go deeper. We got to peel back the layers of these commodities, ignore all their physical properties, and find the one thing, the one common social ingredient that makes them all comparable.
And here it is. This is the big reveal. The one and only thing that a shoe, a shirt, and a loaf of bread all have in common is that a human being had to work to produce them. Not the specific work of a shoemaker or a baker, but just human labor in general, the spending of human energy, brains, and muscle. That is the hidden substance of value.
So think about it this way. That price tag you see on something, its exchange value, that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's the way that this invisible substance, human labor, actually shows up and becomes measurable in the real world. Okay, so if value is labor, how on earth do you measure it? Well, it's not about timing just one person. First, you measure labor in time, hours, minutes. But, and this is the key, it's not about any individual's time.
It's about the average time society needs to make that thing. And that has a name: socially necessary labor time.
And this is a super important point. A thing's value isn't based on how long it took some really slow worker to make it. No way. It's based on the average time it takes with the usual technology, the normal skill level, the average intensity of work at that time. The market doesn't care if you're inefficient. It only recognizes the socially necessary amount of labor.
All right, so we've taken this whole journey, right? We went from a simple object you can hold in your hand all the way down to its hidden social core. Let's just quickly retrace our steps and put all the pieces together.
So let's just recap that whole chain of logic one more time. It all starts with a useful thing, a use value. Take that thing to the market and suddenly it has an exchange value. But that exchange value is just the visible form, the price tag, for its real substance, which is abstract human labor. And how do we measure that labor? With socially necessary labor time.
And that brings us to a final, pretty huge question. If all the value, all the wealth swirling around in our massive global economy really comes from one place, the time and effort of working people, then what does that really tell us about the world we've built? What are the implications of that? Now that is something to think about.